I stopped and I was like, what do you mean you'll get me down to scratch in a few weeks? And he proceeded to tell me that it's actually easier than we think to get to single digits or to become a good golfer or get to scratch than we think it is. And in my head, I was already thinking, there's a huge amount of time, a huge amount of effort. I don't have that time and effort because I'm working, I have kids, all of that kind of stuff. So that's what stuck in my head. And obviously I left, and then we met and we kind of started talking about that and what does that journey look like to get there. And the assumption is that it's difficult to get to scratch. It takes a lot of time. You have to put in a lot of training and a lot of effort. You have to play a lot of rounds. And when we started talking about it, I think that's kind of the questions we started asking. Does it really? It was too far away. Yeah, it wasn't very real or tangible. There wasn't a clear process to follow. There wasn't a clear route of how you get there. None of that stuff. So then we started talking about it, and this idea started to come up of, well, how would we do that?
But obviously, the thing that stuck out from the story is that last thing that Jake said. And, I come from an information product standpoint. And I know that it's just about the right information and the right processes as do you. So that's the thing that really excites us about this. And I suppose that the really cool thing about this is when we started chatting and, maybe 7-day golf boot camps would be really cool. We're really just thinking about what we would want to buy into.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So let's go through kind of some of the major problems that we think we're solving. Obviously the first is the overall time commitment. We do, the traditional model is really geared around retention and bringing you back for
there is
12
that
months.
To it, yeah.
Yeah, which, and then it's kind of pay to play to get access to the information, which we think we should be able to bypass. And we're both, we buy a lot of books, we consume a lot of trainings, not just in golf, but in business and marketing and sales. And we understand that the right information applied gets you outcomes. Why would golf kind of be any different?
I found in golf, having tried to improve my game over the past 2 years and figure that out for myself in the same way, it didn't feel like that's available out there. You get obviously a lot of content on YouTube, but none of them added up to a clear path to follow if you wanted to become a single-digit golfer or to get down to scratch. It just didn't seem to exist, and I don't think that it exists in the pro shop teaching structure. They more come in and say, okay, what's the problems you're having, and we're kind of trying to fix one piece at a time without a holistic roadmap. I think that's quite important because you want to know where you are, where you're trying to get to, and how you're going to get there. And then the time piece that you mentioned, we're both obviously very time poor. So we are our own customers for this, which is great because we have those insights. We both have 2 kids under 6. We both work a lot. We literally wouldn't have the time to commit to 2 sessions a week with a golf pro.
Yeah.
And when we started talking about it, we started saying, well, actually, it's more feasible for us to go away for a 7-day, a week-long boot camp and train intensively to try and achieve what we would probably achieve in a 6-month period. But we want to add in all the extra stuff. What's the roadmap to get there? What are the things we need to work on? How do we personalize that boot camp to the individual? How do we give them ongoing support and accountability post the boot camp? So all those elements that add up to goal setting and progress and accountability and community.
And that's one of the core ethoses here is that you don't need a PGA Tour certified person. You need somebody that's just doing what you want to be doing. Mm-hmm. And what's Jake's handicap? +5. Yeah. So that seems like somebody to me who's qualified. And like we were explaining before, is the opportunity we kind of see with this is that golf's not just about your swing mechanics. It's not just about your mindset. It's not just about course management and the technique and stance. It's all of it together.
Yeah.
And there's no product that addresses it from every angle. And nobody's basically has produced a mastermind that aggregates all of the information into one spot.
I think that's it. And I think that's the what came from that initial Genesis conversation, and when we started getting deeper into it, there's not that holistic approach to it. It doesn't seem to exist. What's that path and what's that journey? Well, and then Jake is someone who obviously, he's a young Pro Tour player. He's on the Asian Development Tour. And as anybody that would kind of lead a mastermind from, I guess, a technique and experience perspective, he's been through all those challenges. He's very well experienced and understands what it takes to move through those levels, because he's an actual pro player playing on the Pro Tour. And he's had to be able to do that to get to where he is. And then how do we package all that experience that he's had and put it into a comprehensive strategy that we could offer to somebody else?
Yeah. So what this podcast is really about, to give people like a taste, it's you and I figuring out how to engineer a business model that allows you and I to get down to scratch whilst allowing other people to do the same.
Yeah.
And it's documenting the process of how do we engineer a business model.
Yeah.
The goal is to push in a particular direction based on a couple of assumptions around, we think that the existing way for people to learn is like stagnated and too traditional. Mm-hmm. And we come from a way more modern, technologically abled way of thinking. We're going to basically be uncovering and unpacking all of the techniques, the mental techniques, the technical things, the course management strategy, and we're going to be testing and seeing what works and what doesn't, and putting that into a 7-day mastermind where ultimately our goal is to get down to scratch. So from a model standpoint, we're producing a podcast, but the podcast is really documenting us going away on quarterly 7-day golf trips, where every golf trip is prototype number 1, then prototype number 2. So we've built V1. So probably over the next few episodes, we're going to start talking about the insights into what goes into the 7-day structure, which is going to be super awesome. But it is really important to kind of emphasize the fact that we do have a vision for this thing. It is like a global golf boot camp.
Absolutely.
Because if we can get ourselves down, and we discussed this the other day, like we both play off 8. If we can get down to 3 with Jake's help, that would be groundbreaking, right?
Absolutely.
If we could get to scratch, that'd be insane. But the thing is that this whole thing is a business venture as well. So I suppose it'd be good to provide some clarity on what we've discussed around where we think this could go. So we see this as potentially something that has global appeal.
Absolutely.
We're going to start it in Southeast Asia because that's where we are. But it really has the potential to be rolled out anywhere with the right amount of teaching pros and the structure, but it has more of a information product mastermind base than the traditional model.
Yeah, and actually what we want is a program that's constantly evolving. And I come from a software background, but I use the analogy of a piece of software. That's our program. That's version 1. And every time we're getting feedback from customers or new developments are coming across all these core modules, whether it's course management, swing theory, mental game, and then all the elements that tie into those, we want proven data and information to feed back into the course and continue to upgrade it. And I think if people had that and saw that there's a clear roadmap, there's a lot of golfers out there that, I've played with and I've talked to and I've seen who all want that same goal. They want to be better. They want better consistency. They probably have suboptimal enjoyment of the game because it's very frustrating. But there's a lot of elements that you can quickly teach them that would improve their enjoyment, improve their performance, that maybe they just don't know. And maybe they don't know it because it's not been available. So I think from a product perspective, there's a lot of opportunity for disruption here. And also our target audience is us, basically, kind of similar age group, similar stage in life, probably has kids, doesn't have a lot of time, generally successful into business, into entrepreneurship, has job, work commitments. And if you took the the current thinking of what it takes to get to scratch, none of us would ever have the time to do that. So I think if you can package all of that up and condense it into a 1-week program that's ever evolving and is going to continue to add value to anybody that signs up and becomes a part of that community, I think that has huge potential.
Awesome. So that, like, from a mechanical standpoint, what we're looking at is a 7-day boot camp, and we're going to be continually engineering it as a product with like a software design and development mentality that's quick change based on us going and doing these boot camps with Jake. And we're going to improve them as we go. Then we're going to introduce beta members to that. And the podcast becomes where we're acquiring the information, recapping what worked, what didn't work with each of the training camps.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so what the podcast will be is bringing on everything that we're learning about how to improve, but more so how to package it in a way to build, like, hopefully a successful 8-figure business that can be rolled out globally. So it's a combination of business and golf, and it's important for people to recognize that probably the thing that ties us together is kind of the way that we see the world, and that's the more traditional way of like acquiring information that comes through certifications and all that. We very firmly disagree with that, and we think it's just about the person that's doing it is the best person to potentially get guidance from, and we're just going to be the proof and work really hard on being the living proof of, hey, we got from 8 to scratch. And then if that's the case, then man, we don't need much marketing content outside of how we've done it ourselves.
I think we both came to the conclusion, having started to work on something that's a passion project, that this is extremely exciting, extremely fun. What if we can just share this journey with people so that they can see how we're doing it? You know, the build in public sort of hashtag springs to mind, but see what we're doing, see how we're approaching it.
So from a goal perspective, I mean, we've discussed the idea that this would be massively successful if we could just in 5 years break even and have traveled the world hosting these things and improving our game, and even wiping getting down to 5 would be an incredible success.
I mean, we're positioning it as scratch, but like even if you just knocked off 3 to 5 shots, I think most people would be extremely happy with that. And I quietly think we can actually do better.
But we really are just saying, look, how do we deliver a $50,000 experience so that whatever we end up charging is an absolute no-brainer?
Yeah.
And that's the whole goal here, is to engineer an incredible product that's transformational first and foremost, and then how to build a business based on that value creation. And then all we're doing is speaking to as many people as we possibly can that have excelled in this, and trying to make use of the information to put it into a product that gets people as far as possible. And like the Alex Hormozi metaphor that I'm thinking of here is that the best product on the planet is a pill that you can swallow that tastes great, that puts $1 million in your bank account. So all we're trying to do is go, what's the least amount of effort and cost and sacrifice for the customer to get them the most incredible outcome. And then our business model will be a reaction to that metaphor. Yeah.
And if we're looking back in 3 years' time, I really hope that we've given enough value on the business side for people to think that they can do it and start, heading in that direction. That excites me, to be able to share that journey with people and inspire other people to do the same.
And we'll obviously go through that in subsequent episodes, but we'll break down and I mean, we've only roughly started to crunch numbers with this thing, but I think we'll go through way more detail.
I love the build in public concept. Here you go, guys. This is what we're doing. Just, hopefully copy it and it's working.
So hopefully in that 60 minutes we've framed it what you can expect. So. But this is already super fun. Awesome. All right.
Amazing.